Imagine a time when the winds of change were shaping a new civilization in the heart of ancient India. The Vedic period, spanning from around 1500 BCE to 500 BCE, was not only an era of spiritual exploration, but also a time when women were revered as scholars, sages, and leaders. Let's journey back to this fascinating period and unravel the empowering roles that women played. The Vedic period wasn't just about men leading the spiritual path. Women were there, creating hymns, offering prayers, and even becoming revered sages in their own right. Imagine the wisdom of Ghosha, a Vedic poetess who composed her own hymns. Picture Vak, the embodiment of speech, who was invoked in sacred Vedic prayers. The Rigveda, the earliest of the Vedic texts, mentions several women sages, rishikas, like Lopamudra and Aditi, who were not just followers but intellectual and spiritual pioneers. In a world where wisdom was often passed down through oral traditions, these women didn't just learn, they contributed. They composed hymns that we still read and chant today, showing that the divine was as much female as it was male. Isn't it incredible that these women were revered as teachers, capable of deep spiritual insight? In the Vedic period, marriage was not merely a contractual obligation, but an important social and religious institution. The marriage rituals themselves were often more egalitarian than those in later periods. Women were often consulted about their choice of partners, with the bride being given a central role in the marriage ceremony, such as in the Garhapatya fire ceremony. The concept of Swayamvara, where a woman could choose her husband from among a group of suitors, is particularly significant in the context of the Vedic period, showing that women had some degree of agency in choosing their life partners. However, despite these progressive elements, Vedic society was still patriarchal, with the majority of women being bound by the authority of their fathers and later their husbands. The texts do not hide the fact that women's roles were primarily domestic, but they were not completely subjugated. The Vedic period allowed for women to receive education, and some of them even composed Vedic hymns and philosophy. Women like Brahmavadinis were highly regarded for their intellectual abilities. The concept of vidya, or knowledge, was gender-neutral in the early Vedic period, and both men and women could pursue learning in the sacred texts. Though the Vedic period saw women participating in rituals and societal leadership, the later texts, such as the Upanishads and Puranas, reflected a decline in their status. The influence of the patriarchal system increased as society became more agrarian, and the role of women became more confined to the domestic sphere. By the time of the Mahabharata and Ramayana, women's roles had become more restricted, and their participation in public and religious life was largely curtailed. In the Vedic period, goddesses were worshipped alongside male deities, which further underscores the status of women in spiritual matters. Deities such as Aditi, the mother of the gods, Ushas, the dawn, and Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom, were important figures in the Vedic pantheon, and their worship reflects the belief in female power in the spiritual and natural world. The Vedic texts also highlight the concept of the divine as both masculine and feminine. The very act of creation is often depicted as a union of the masculine and feminine principles, showcasing the importance of both genders in cosmic balance.